right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Genevieve Mascara. I'm going to tippy toe. I'm the outreach coordinator here at Mesa College, and I want to welcome you to our Voices workshop for Hispanic and Latina and Latino students. These are 5 of the lucky ones who will be sharing their stories with us today. We're waiting on a few more, so if they do show up, we'll tag them on at the end. But this is really the first in a series of workshops that we're going to be doing throughout the year that focus on our students' experiences and what it's like for them here at Mesa College. We're doing this one to wrap up our Hispanic Heritage Month events, so it was fitting to have students of Hispanic and Latino background to come and speak with us. But it gives us the opportunity, as we're thinking about, the focus on history and heritage and the past. It gives us the opportunity to take a look and take stock of the students that we have here now in the present and what their stories are and what their contributions are to help us as Mesa College move forward into the future, providing services and building a community that are going to be responsive to their needs and helpful to their success. And so that's kind of what we're doing here today. They've offered to come and share their stories unedited, good and bad times, to help us build community and to help us understand a little bit about what our students go through. At the end, we'll go ahead and have a question and answer session, so any questions you may have of our students, that will be your time to ask them. So, without further ado, our students.
Hi, good morning. You see, being a Chicana student at Mesa College is interesting. Growing up in Tijuana, Mexico, and Chula Vista, you're not used to being the minority. You're the majority. I grew up and went to school in Tijuana till 2nd grade, and 3rd grade and on, I went in Chula Vista. I started my career in a Hispanic community until I reached Mesa College. I was used to seeing people who appear to be Mexican or Latino and just go up to them and talk to them in Spanish. That didn't happen at Mesa. I was like, "Ay, hola!" And they were all like, "Sorry? What?" At first, I was personally appalled. How can someone who comes from somewhere else just lose their sense of identity when they migrate? Since I was little, I was taught to be proud of my roots. When I got to Mesa, I saw that not everyone embraces their roots. My roots are stilled in my blood. They are what make me unique, and even more than that, they're what make me me. Of course, as a child, I didn't get when my mom said, "You'll be proud that you know Spanish when you grow up." When I was little, I didn't get it. I was like, "Mom, I'm going to San Diego. No one speaks Spanish. It's fine." And then now, I have a second job, and I'm pretty sure it wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for me knowing my Spanish. I am beyond grateful I know Spanish. Most of my patients speak either Spanish or English. And there's another coworker that doesn't speak Spanish, so I'm the interpreter. Who would have thought that all those years of my mom talking to me in Spanish would have actually been helpful for something? You see, my life tends to be very monotone. 3 days a week, Monday through Wednesday, I have school and work at school as well as a peer navigator. Then they're usually 13-hour days, and Thursdays and Fridays, I work in Chula Vista at an optometrist called H Street Optometry. Most of our patients down there are Hispanic, so Spanish is very crucial. I still live at home. You see, well, technically, I'm in and out constantly because I'm taking 15 units and working 2 jobs. Living in a Mexican household, you're constantly in noise. A lot of people don't realize, or they're trying to be a little quiet, but you're Mexican, you're naturally loud. So I find peace at Starbucks, and almost every weekend, I go to a new one and see it as a way to explore, a way to get out of my routine, and just do homework. I am currently grateful for the opportunity Mesa has offered me through the peer navigator. I applied because my small group communication professor, Professor Garachi, offered me the job. Of course, she had said it in class and said it would be a good idea. But last spring, all I wanted to do was finish my 4 units and be out of here. I was like, oh, I did enough in high school. I was in extracurriculars down there. I don't need to do that now. But then she emailed me. And that's what made a great impact on my life. You see, initially, I just needed 4 units and I was done to transfer. I was going to get my communication associates. But I thought, if your communication professor emails you and you're a communication major, you better follow up with her. My initial plan was to just work 8 months straight and the rest of the 4 months backpack through Europe. So it was a very hard decision. I was like, either I work at school, become a full-time student, and start my career, or I backpack through Europe. You see, it wasn't an easy decision. But I said, when would I be in this position ever again? Probably never. So I decided to become a peer navigator. And I learned to talk to people who were above me in ranks and to gain the confidence I didn't know I had. That has been amazing. I am so grateful for the opportunities that being Hispanic have offered me. I am even more grateful of being Mexican. It has taught me that being the minority is not always something negative. Mesa has shaped me as the person I am and the person I want to grow upon. My name is Manny Lizarraga, and I'm a reflection of Mesa College. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Manny and I'm a psychology major here at Mesa College. Being Hispanic male at Mesa is by far the best experience that I've had. I was born in Ventura, California, but raised in Oxnard, California. I went to Oxnard College for a year prior to attending Mesa College. Mesa College has set the standard so high for what I'm looking for in a college. For once, I feel that I have value. Mesa College has given me every opportunity to shine as an individual, regardless of my past or ethnicity. Here at Mesa College, I feel equal to every other student. At the other college I attended, I used to get ugly looks from many of the instructors because of my ethnicity, just because I had tattoos or because of the way I dressed. I got looked down upon. But Mesa College has accepted me for who I am with arms wide open. From getting such high support from faculty and staff, to getting praised as a role model by peers. Mesa College has brought me so much insight about myself. The Peer Navigator and Summer Cruise program have helped me identify and refine many of my skills. Being a part of these first-time programs has given me a greater sense of self-worth. To be given an opportunity like this is one of a kind. Mesa College has given me a newfound confidence that I never had. I love knowing that I am surrounded by other successful students who want to succeed in life, something that was not present at the college that I attended. I have yet to have a bad experience on this campus, but I know the worst one will be when I leave. I recommend all students to be involved on campus, whether it's in a club or a job. Also take advantage of all the resources that Mesa has to offer. EOPS has helped me through my whole college experience, and I've taken advantage of their counseling and their insight, and they've helped me to get prepped for transfer. So Mesa College has become a part of me and my future success. My name is Manny Gonzalez, and I'm a reflection of Mesa College.
Hello, my name is Fabiola Reyes, and I'm peer navigator here at Mesa. So being a Hispanic female at Mesa is interesting. I have had both good and bad experiences. Being a first-generation college student is not always easy. Both my parents have unconditionally supported me throughout the years, but they didn't always know how to help me. Luckily, my niece, who was a current student at Mesa, advised me to join Puente. The Puente program helped me tremendously. My English teachers, Christy and Jill, and my teacher/counselor, Guillermo, were always there for me and helped me get through my first year of college. And they still continue to help me to this day. When I got to Mesa, I didn't know too many people, but in Puente, I met new people and made new friends. We all had 2 classes together for a year. And I think that learning communities are very helpful and beneficial to new incoming students because there is a sense of belongingness and being a part of something bigger. Another program that helped me was the FYE, which is the first year experience program. And they had workshops available that talked about financial aid and classes and other beneficial topics. So because my parents couldn't help me, the FYE program also helped me with those topics. Just like how my niece advised me, I advised my cousin to join Puente and FYE this year. One of my bad experiences was when I came to take my placement test during my senior year with one of my friends. We both went in at the same time but saw a different person at the front desk. The person that helped me gave me an option of choosing between 2 different types of math tests. The person that helped and gave me the options, and I didn't know what they were, so I just randomly chose one. And the person that helped my friend didn't give her a choice between the 2 tests, so she had to take both the tests. I was really confused with this. I didn't know why this had happened, but then later on I realized that things like this happen on campus and they are out of the students' control. When I was in high school, there was very little teacher diversity, but what I like about Mesa is that there is diversity among staff and faculty. There are teachers and counselors and other staff and other faculty that are of my race and that I can relate to, and that makes me feel really comfortable during my education, and I feel like I belong here. And my name is Fabiola Magdalena Beas, and I'm a reflection of Mesa College.
Hello, everybody. My name is Eddie Razo Garcia Rojas, or just Eddie for short, because I don't have a long name. And I am a Chicano student here at Mesa College. And I have to be honest with you guys, being a Chicano didn't really affect me in any way when I first started. So, you know what, let me start at the beginning. So I started coming to Mesa like straight out of high school, like summer 2014. Feels like forever ago now. And, and at the time, my only concern was just trying to get adjusted to the new system and, being straight out of high school, that's not easy. I was like lost trying to fit in somewhere. And, at some point it felt like high school just, with higher standards and different schedules. And I feel like the reason I never really noticed anything in particular was the fact that Mesa itself is extremely diverse, and not once did it cross my mind, Actually, the only time I ever considered my identity was when I took a Chicano Studies course this past summer with Professor Velez. And, there I learned about, like more about my identity and what really made me. So I started thinking more about it, and, eventually I really started thinking like, who am I? What makes me like different as an individual? And, eventually I just like figured, well, I guess it makes sense. I mean, I identify as a modern day Chicano, or as Professor Velez put it, the generation of Selena Gomez. And, it was something that really struck me, and I was like, okay, cool. It's like, I never really thought about it because, it's like we live here in California and it's pretty diverse, so it didn't cross my mind. And it actually did affect me to the point where, just on a side note, I like writing stories and I like writing scripts for TV shows and movies. And one of the things I noticed was that a lot of times you don't really see like Hispanics or Latinos or, all these different identities expressed in some films or TV shows. And I thought, that would be really interesting to express in my own work. So I eventually started coming up with, okay, maybe I could throw in this character here and, actually like, show some diversity. And, in my latest work, I've actually gotten to the point where I was like, no, you know what? This show needs to be really diverse. I need to express like, all these different identities, and, I need to have like the Latino character, and I need to have the black character and the Asian character, and then, and I also need to have the LGBT character. I need to express everyone because that's the way, would be best and it would appeal to everyone, except those people who probably don't feel, very comfortable with those topics, but, sucks for them. So the funny thing is that, my parents originate from Mexico, and, having been born and raised here, I never really got the chance to identify very much with that part because, I was like, I grew up in a home where I had my parents and they didn't speak English. I grew up with Spanish, so when I got to school, I had that conflict of having to learn English, so I was like, great. First, I was struggling to learn Spanish, how to read and write in Spanish, and now I had to worry with English, so I was like, okay. And it took me quite a while to get adjusted, but eventually I did. And it got to the point where I was thinking, if I'm really gonna commit to learning English, I had to do everything in English. So it got to the point where, up until today, my mind is wired in English. Every single one of my thoughts is in English. So, and I feel like that's my dominant language. I mean, really, my Spanish is not that good. And, and the funny thing is that, I actually get scolded by some people who tell me that I'm not expressing my roots. But the thing is, it's things happen, I just developed in a different way, if you will. And, and I don't really see that it's something super bad because, like I said, it's I finally came to accept who I am and what I identify as. So really there's no harm, and, I like who I am. And, I feel like I don't know, I'm a strange individual, but I like the way I am because, I just happen to represent another distinct student here at Mesa, and I feel like that's the best we can all hope for, and, that's just me, Eddie. Thank you.
Hello and good evening. My name is Jose Gilberto Franco Rojo, and I'm here to tell my story. Being a Mexican male student at Mesa up until now has been one of the greatest things that I have experienced in my life so far. A little about me. I was born here in San Diego and grew up in Lemon Grove. My mother was born here in the US but spent most of her life in Mexico. Same as my father, he was born in Mexico and spent most of his life over there and then migrated over. Both of my parents have very little education, so they devoted to work instead they work instead of continuing their education to support their family. Because of this, they don't make much money in their job field, leading me to pay for my own education through little jobs and the help of financial aid. During the first year at Mesa, I didn't take it too seriously in the sense that I thought of it as just a school and just a thing you just do. While going to school, my father was able to get me my first true job at his work. I was really happy because now I was able to have my own money to do as I pleased. I didn't think too much of the job until someone I knew brought up the topic of me doing a stereotypical Mexican job, and then it hit me. I was a janitor cleaning up after a big corporation. Somehow I ended up in a stereotypical job for my race, but I didn't give it too much attention because a job is a job. For almost a year, I worked as a janitor, using much of the money to pay for my books and other school supplies because my parents couldn't afford supporting me and my 2 brothers and 2 sisters. But I didn't mind this at all. This went on for a while until the spring semester of 2015, one of the most influential periods in my life so far. During this time, I was taking 2 classes, a psychology and a mathematics one. I was majoring in psychology at this point, so all I had to do was take this math class and one other to be done with it. Throughout the semester, I was doing really well in my math class to the point where I was helping most of my classmates with the material. I would get to school early, so before class, outside of school and classes, and on my off days, I would tutor my friends and classmates because I enjoyed it so much. Then one day before class, I was doing the same thing I was tutoring my classmates. When we were having a test that day, so I was working really hard to make sure they understood the material. So a few minutes before the class started, my math professor came to me. At this point, I feel like my life changed, and asked me if I wanted a job because class was going to start. She said to meet with her after I finished the test. From there, she said that Mesa was doing this new program called classroom tutoring, or as I call them, C-team. I said I would, and I applied for the position, and I waited during this point, or I applied and I waited. During this point, I enjoyed the math, but not so much my psychology class. My math professor brought up why not major in math a few times, and in the semester, and I considered it too, but I felt like it would be too much work. But helping my classmates and a few nudges from my professor and a few other things were the fuel that made me change my major to math, which I do not regret in any way. After the semester was over, I went and had my interview with the CT position, and I was very nervous, but Brad and Sim must have liked me very much because I was able to get the job. Not only this, but I was offered a job hosting the summer event called Summer Cruise. Through this event, I was able to get another job as a peer navigator. Because of this, I was able to leave my old job as a janitor and better myself with better pay and not working so late hours. From this, I have had many doors open up. Because of this, I feel like school is much more fun and exciting. Getting to meet new and continuing students, the staff and faculty, and seeing behind the scenes of college at different times, from big meetings to small events, even now at this event. Because I chose to do something I enjoyed, and I am here speaking to you all. I have two people that I want to thank very much for believing in me and giving me a chance to strive and succeed. My math professor, Gina Ariati, and Monica Romero. Thank you. My name is Jose Franco, and I'm a reflection of Mesa College.
All right, so before we move forward with the question and answer portion, I would like to just take this time and this opportunity to commend your bravery. It's really hard to come up here. Ooh, here I go. I did this last time too. Woo! It's really hard to come up here as students, especially in a room in front of your teachers and administrators, and not really knowing the response that you're going to get. It's really brave and commendable for you to come up here and share a little piece of yourself and to be so open and willing and honest to do so, to help better our college and to help the other students here. So before we move forward, I want to acknowledge you and applaud your bravery and your willingness. All right, I held it in, guys. So at this point, it's the open question and answers portion. So if you have any questions of our students, this is your opportunity to ask anything at all. If you don't have one, I'll ask one. Yes.
Yeah, I'm Jonathan Cloud. I teach history here. Excuse me. So all of you came from high school relatively recently. What was it that triggered your interest in going on to higher education and coming to Mesa?
I can say I didn't want to go to Southwestern just because.
You were going to go to college.
Yeah. Well, my sister graduated from Montgomery High in 2013. No, 09. I graduated in 2013. And her classmates were still at Southwestern. It had been 4 years. She had gotten her diploma from UCSB. And I was barely going to start. And she's like, oh, well, are you going to take forever? And I was like, what do you mean? Because I didn't get accepted straight to a 4-year institution. So I feel like that was my biggest fear coming into a community college. Am I really gonna take forever? And technically I could have been done in the summer and be done in 2 years, but since this opportunity came up, I kind of drifted, but and I chose Mesa because one of my close friends is gonna come here, and I was like, well, it's not Southwestern, so hopefully that's better. And then I was looking at the transfer rates, and they had a 23% transfer rate, and they had a 73 here, and I was like, well, I need a transfer, and I don't want to take 4 years, so this was a better option
Deal's
for
a
me.
deal.
Yeah.
How about some of the rest?
Well, me, straight out of high school, I wasn't thinking of going straight to college. It was just like I need to work and help my family. Grew up with like a rough childhood kind of, so I didn't really have that distilled in my mind. But I'm 22 now. When I was 20, I started realizing like, you know what, I need to do something. Honestly, like both my parents just graduated high school only, so I was like, I need to set an example. I have 3 younger siblings, so I was like, you know, I need to set a good example to them. So I started going to college, Oxnard College, where I lived, and I was homeless at the time. So one of my friends that lived out here was like, you know, come move to San Diego. I know you're struggling out there. I need to get you out of there. Like, come down. I was like, well, you know, I gotta look at schools out there. Where am I gonna go? And at that time, I was a culinary major. So Mesa was the only school that had it. And even when I was looking through, comparing to Miramar and City, I seen that they had a lot more courses, options here. So I was like, you know what, maybe I'll try there. And my friends, they don't come here, they go to like UCSD. So they were like, honestly though, Mesa's where it's at. They were telling me all the time, Mesa, go to Mesa. So I think kind of like my friends telling me, go to Mesa, I came here. But as soon as I came here, I changed my major. I was like, I can relate more to people if like in the field of psychology, if I want to be a counselor or something, I can really relate to people who are a minority and have had a difficult, you know, childhood growing up also. So I'm so proud of the choice to come here, all the opportunities that keep arising for us as individuals. I don't really necessarily see it as a different perspective. I'm just expressing my experience, and being a Hispanic male, it really has helped me a lot. So that's why I chose Mesa, and I would recommend it to anyone else also.
Your friends from UCSD come over here?
Some of them do. Some take, like right now I have a friend who's taking a physics class here right now, and he took behavioral stats last semester here. So they've already came here and they told me, you know, like it's really big campus, a lot of instructors, a lot of diversity. So that was a real decision maker for me.
My decision or reason to continue my education was because I didn't really like the idea of me continuing working hard labor for the rest of my life. So I thought school might be better and continue my education. And it's called both my parents didn't continue their education. So I knew they would want me to strive and get a better job and better pay to support my family. And the reason I came to Mesa was I had a cousin that really recommended it, and it's paid off so far.
So in high school, I applied to different universities, and I didn't get accepted to the ones in San Diego. I got accepted to ones in LA, and I didn't want to leave San Diego because I love it here. And my parents weren't very supportive either of me leaving. They wanted me to stay here and help them and just help my little brother out and everything. So I was like, okay, well now I have to choose community college. So I was like, I wasn't too happy at the very beginning because I was like, oh, it's community college, like, oh, like, you know, whatever. And then I had to choose one. And so it was either between City, Miramar, and Mesa. And I actually live really close to City. I live like 5 minutes away. But I chose Mesa just because I don't like the vibe that City has, kind of like the open campus and like the different buildings in the actual city. And I like Mesa because it's an enclosed campus, so you feel more like a college. And then Miramar, well, it was like a lot farther. And now I'm so happy that I chose Mesa. I'm gonna transfer, so yeah.
All right, so basically what happened with me was that when I was in high school, I applied to like multiple universities, and I only got into one, CSU Northridge. And you know, by the time it was spring, I was like, okay, I can go. But then I realized that I did not have the financial stability. I did not have the appropriate income. So I was like, I didn't even have a job at the time. So I was like, no, there's no way I'm gonna be able to go. And well, the other thing was that my father didn't even believe that I could like go out and live out there by myself. So I was like, okay, well, what else can I do? And you know, I've been so hyped up about just leaving, like, you know, because I had never been away from home. So I was like, okay. And my sister had been coming here for a while before that, so I thought, okay, it's like, well, she can show me around and she can teach me what I need to do. And I thought, okay, well, why not? It's like Mesa, and it's like right there. I mean, I've been living in the area like most of my life, and I literally would just drive like, you know, by, and I would always see the LRC, and I always wondered, what is that building? And finally, I was like, oh, okay, so this is part of Mesa campus. And then, you know, it's like right before like I graduated from high school, my sister brought me here and she showed me around and she told me what I had to do, and I was like, okay. And eventually I just decided, it's like, okay, this is the best thing I could just do. So right after high school, like I seriously just graduated that last week of high school, I had the weekend, and then Monday I started school. That was a very drastic change, so, but I just went for it, and here I am now.
Any other questions for them? Comments?
Can each of you speak about your roles in your family and how is it that they either benefit or just like what's your experience like within your family and you coming into a college? Some of you are looking at me like, what? I know it's a little bit personal, but I would like to find out a little bit more about how you deal with both.
All right, well, myself, I'm the second oldest.
Okay.
So I have an older sister, but she didn't go to college, and she got pregnant at a young age. So I was kind of like the next to set an example for my younger siblings. And both of my parents are disabled, so that's when I knew, well, the next person who has to make a move is myself. So before I moved out here, my parents had already moved away to Palmdale, so I was stuck like out there trying to figure out where am I gonna stay. It was mid-semester, I couldn't just get up and leave, so like I ended up staying there with at my aunt's house, and I had the option to go move back home or just try to start my career and build myself before I'm able to help my family. So I moved out here, and now my little sister just went to Chico, so I'm really right now the one who helps them with income. I send my sister money, I send my mom money, and I'm really like the role right now that they really look up to me of my younger siblings. And I started to notice that even my older sister kind of looks up to me. When I speak to her, I ask her like, you know, what are you doing? You know, what are you doing best for your child right now? What are you thinking of? And she's like, you know, I really want to go back to school. So really, a lot of the way that my siblings think of me, and even my mother knows, like she's really proud of me. She always commends me of what I'm doing. And it's a really good feeling to know that you're doing it for a good cause. And at first I was really like, oh, you know, I have to help. You know, I really want to try to get my life on track. But that's what shaped me to be me. And I'm really proud of it. And the way I'm placed in my family right now, I wouldn't want it any other.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
My role in my family, I'm the oldest of 5 children. My parents are divorced, so I live with my mom and my grandparents, and I am with here and getting the position as a CT and a peer navigator. I've been able to help pay a lot of the bills, and I'm a bit of a contributor to the paying the bills and all that, and I feel like I'm a role model to my other 4 siblings, and I think that's it.
Well, after my parents paid for my sister's college, they didn't want her to get loans, so they kind of paid for the whole thing. So after that, they actually moved down to TJ again because they couldn't afford living up here. It was too expensive. So they're actually living down in TJ, and I go visit them in the weekends, and I stay during the week with my aunt. She lives up in UTC. So I room with my little cousin, and I pay for all my bills. It's weird to ask my parents for money because I'm like, you guys can barely make it. I don't want to be like another burden. So that's kind of why I started getting 2 jobs. One pays the bills and the other one makes the resume. That's how I see it. And I don't know, like I like to contribute. Like sometimes my mom wants to give me like $20, and I'm like, no, you can use that for gas. Like gas is going up again. But yeah, like during the school year, like my mom actually gets mad at me. Like, why aren't you asking me? Ask me if you need books, if you need a binder, tell me. And I'm like, no, it's fine. I'm saving up. Don't worry. And right now, I'm actually already saving up for college because I don't want to ask them once I'm there too. Like they already have it down. They work up here, but they live down there, so they have to cross every day. So I know when I visit them and then I come to school, I start at 8:30, so I have to wake up at 5, leave by 6 to make it up here. So I'm like, no, you guys already have plenty on your plate. You don't need to add.
Okay, well, I'm the oldest of two, so it's only me and my brother and my mom and my dad, and we're very close. It's just the four of us. And from my mom's side, she's the only one that lives here in San Diego. Everyone else lives in Mexico or in Washington. And then my dad's side, a lot of them live here, but we're very distant because of like family problems and stuff. So we always try to stay here, and I'm always put as like the role model. Like, oh, if my dad's like, oh, send an email for me, because he doesn't know how to do that, so I have to send the email. I'm like, I have to do this, you know. I don't really contribute financially, but I do help a lot with like the emails and like, oh, if they need help with translating stuff or just simple stuff like that. And then, well, since my brother's 11 and he's very like, he doesn't have self-discipline, so he gets off track sometimes. So I'm the one that's like, no, do this, or I'll help him with his homework, or I'll tutor him, and like, I want to be the biggest role model for him. And then in my mom's side, I'm the oldest grandchild as well. So I'm always put in that position where like I'm the role model and I have to look at what I'm doing because everyone else is looking at me. So.
I find myself to be the youngest of two. I only have my older sister, and it's just me, her, and my mom and my dad. And really, I haven't really, I feel like sometimes I'm invisible because I feel like if there's any conflicts at home, usually it was always between my parents and my sister trying to like figure out a solution. And I was like, okay, it's like, so what's going on? It would literally be something like I'd go to school and I'd go home and my sister would tell me, it's like, okay, we need to do this. I'm like, what? What happened? It's like, I just went to school this morning and now there's like a problem. Like, what happened? And I was like, tell me. It's like, what happened? She's like, oh, this so-and-so happened like today. Like, really? So I was like, okay. And seriously, I was just like, most of the time I was ignored, or I just wouldn't even know about what was going on. But I didn't really start contributing, like, for example, like financially, I started contributing like up until like I got this job here on campus where, I started earning my own money, and especially like, I started helping out at home because, like this year has been by far like the toughest year like me and my family have been like endured because, it's been like problem after problem. Like seriously, we've been like moving from place to place, and just this past May, like my dad had like this big accident where he like severed his hand, and then he couldn't work for like many months. So then it was literally just me and my sister that were having to figure out like how to pay for like all these things at home. And even now, it's like now we're living like really far away. We live in Imperial Beach, so now it's me and my sister who have to pay for gas. So we would literally be like, it's like, let's alternate. It's like, you pay today and I'll pay tomorrow, and let's just alternate. I was like, okay, like. And then we also like alternate on the phone bill, and then we also have to pay like, occasionally, a bunch of other things like, or go buy groceries, but it's really just a bunch of things that we just have to do together. And it wasn't until like, until now that I'm in college that I've actually had to put like myself out there and actually start helping out my family, because before I wasn't really as involved. So.
Any other questions or comments? I have one. So you guys are students here. In your opinion, what one thing could the college do to help you be more successful, or to help other students be more successful, or to have the opportunities that you've been fortunate enough to have here at Mesa?
Can I expand that just a little
Sure.
bit more?
Mm-hmm.
So not just the college, but also like as professors, what can you do for?
I can start off with that one.
Oh, there's a list.
No,
Maybe not, right? Maybe not expand that question.
Well, because I started here not knowing anyone. Like I moved from mid California, so I didn't really know anyone here. So I would just come to class, go home, go to class, go home. And I was already involved at the last campus I was at, so I knew like, hey, I need to find something. And it was really difficult for me to find like things to do. Like who do I contact to get into clubs? Where do I find this? How can I find a job? And the way I found out about this job was actually through my counselor. And once I got into it and I got into the program, now I'm in the loop. I hear everything that goes on. But for other students, like it's an issue for them to actually hear what's going on. When I tell them about like an event that just happened, they're like, what? I would have loved to go to that. And I just literally had a workshop like 2 weeks ago about student involvement. And we tried telling instructors like, tell students to go, we need students to go. We told like EOPS and Star Trail, like tell students. But for some reason, still not a lot of students showed up. So I don't know if it's just taking more initiative to like urge them to go on every instructor. I'm not like saying it's one instructor in particular, but really trying to urge the students to really get involved. And it's telling them one time might not work. It's like constantly telling them. And the only way students are finding out about things on campus are like from examples like us. And I still don't feel there's enough of that because a lot of people are still unaware of all the events that are going on campus. And a lot of it is crucial information that the students need to know, like tips on how to be good as a student, what they can do, transferring workshops, all this. And a lot of students are not getting that. And it's an issue. And it's funny because we're students, but now we're seeing the issues that, instructors and faculty and staff are dealing with. And it is really like just telling students to go, urging them constantly over and over again.
I have to agree with Manuel that with me, my first year here, it wasn't too special, just going to school and pretty much nothing until my professor told me, and that changed everything. So I do feel like on some part, the professor that is a big factor in helping many students. With me, it helped me tremendously, and I've enjoyed it so far. So I feel the professors could, look for those few individuals that have the potential and expand on their potential, and see how far they're able to go.
Yeah, and to add on to that, also or identify what your kids, they're not kids, what your students' majors are. And honestly, if it wasn't for that email and that door open, I wouldn't have never heard of this program. And it's really those few professors that it looks like they're actually taking a step for you. It's an amazing feeling. Like you're like, wow, you know my name and you look for my email. Are you serious? Like that's so cool. So that just made me like, wow. It was an amazing feeling, and I would like other students to have it.
Well, for professors, it's just like be very supportive. And I know like you can't have that one-on-one connection with every single student, but as many as you can, because that one professor can really make a huge impact in a student's life. Like it changes their world. Like it'll make a really big difference. And like yeah, there are resources here, but a lot of students don't find out about them. So like I don't know, they think they're a waste of time if people aren't even going to them. So I think we just do a better job. We need to do a better job of having students like hear about these resources and actually pushing them to go to them.
Yeah, I completely agree about the whole professor thing because, like, when I first started here, and I went to like my first few classes, I was like, oh boy, these professors look very intimidating. They were very overwhelming. I was like, oh, I'm not sure if I should go up to them and speak with them, and so I felt a little, like, yeah. So I feel like if like the professors just do like their best to like actually open themselves up and encourage the students to actually like engage with them, and if they have absolutely any problems, just to come to them, because otherwise they will just like they will move away and just like stay away, their distance. But yeah, like the professors play a really big part into it.
I know. I want to add on also group work. I feel like group work is so crucial because if you have a person, you get attached, you automatically want to go to class. That pushes you to go to class because you're going to go see your friend. So even if it's just like, oh, no three people and fill out that worksheet, you know, the one that everyone does. It's like, oh, who has an older sibling? And you're intermingling. But that's like exciting because then you might find out stuff about your peers that you didn't know. And a lot of those peers become your study groups. And it all begins with just like a 20-minute exercise of just knowing the people around you. And that makes such a big impact also.
You spend time on the website, the college website, looking for events and connections that way?
We get emailed. So that's how we know, and that's how we email our students too.
But every student gets emailed then?
No.
We're just because the district.
Just 'cause we're staff.
We were given district emails.
Right, so
It's
that's
like
that.
peer navigation.
Yeah.
So what would you say is the best way to connect with
Right.
your generation?
I would say do group work, and then just have them actually know each other's name and something that they like or something like that, and then you'll know what's their interests, and then you can make a connection through their interests.
Okay. But just kind of going back to like what Manuel said is like they hear about it but they forget. So like if we had an Instagram account and like don't forget today is the Voices presentation, like I don't know, any ideas on connecting and reminding students of ways to engage?
I recommend persistence. I know, like, if you're saying you don't think something works, like most professors tend to stop trying that and then just like stopping off and doing this every year they stop, but it's really persistence, reminding them like, hey, you know, there's an event this week, even if it's 5 minutes before you start your lecture and then 5 minutes before you end your lecture. It's really persistence. And from examples, my students, like, I'll tell them 1 or 2 times and it's not, but if I consistently tell them like, hey, you know, remind them like 3 weeks in advance and every week, like, hey, there's an event coming up, even if it's only 5 more people showing up than the 5 before, that means that something that I'm telling them is working. So I just recommend persistence and consistently reminding them that these things are there. If you tell them 1 or 2 times, they're gonna forget and they're not gonna remember. They're gonna be like, oh, hey, next time. But just constantly urging them, like, you know, it's important, do this. It's crucial to you, letting them know the outcome of going to these things. That's a really good thing.
Well, I was just going to ask about, like, a lot of times when I get the email from like Career Center for this today, I will forward it to my whole class and say like, it would be great if you attended, and I even give them extra credit, but they have to write a paper about participating because I don't want to just like, you know, have to get something out of it. But so it's kind of like the instructor emailing you individually, but it's like a group email, but that still, and then I also had a question about things like Remind 101, like if anybody uses that, like if that would be something you want. Like it's a like a, no.
What's 101?
It's called Remind 101, and it's just it's like a mass email thing, but it's a different program. You just kind of, it's a little bit more direct. Your students have to sign in, so it like takes a little bit more effort for them to sign up, and then you can just send out bulletins. And I think it comes on like your phone. You can do text messaging or email.
I feel like
or
that
both.
would be more efficient too, but just have them like sign up in class so they're already signed up, and you teach them how to sign up. And then like people are always on their phone. So if they get something on their, like I've emailed them and they won't reply. And then I email and text them the exact same thing and they'll reply to my text like in 10 minutes.
Yeah, so Remind can go to text.
Yeah.
So I was just curious if that would be helpful.
When I email my students, they've told me before, they're like, I send them like emails about like this event or like any event on campus. I send them emails and they tell me themselves, they'll go up to me like next week, I have a question about this. I'm like, you didn't see my email? I told you, like, you know, oh no, I didn't pay attention to it. So what I found out now, what I do now is I email them, but then I text them, hey, make sure to look at this email, and then they're like, oh, okay, and then they actually reply with a text, like, oh, okay, maybe I should look at this email, and like, maybe it'll be helpful, just maybe, 'cause I'm spending my time sending it, you know.
Actually, just another thing to know as well, because I email my students all the time, and Yahoo and Gmail, when you email mass like that, puts us in spam.
Great. Yeah.
And so I have to, the first day of class, after I've emailed all my students, I have to tell them, oh, by the way, if you have Gmail or Yahoo, I'm in your junk folder, and you need to, can I take me out of the junk, please?
I'm a student here, and you know, I never received any emails or have any of the. I follow Mesa College on Facebook. I don't have an Instagram, but one thing that my professor did that was successful, obviously, because I'm here, was Professor Santiago. She literally just remind us every time before we left the class. She'd be like, the voices, and the same thing with, if we come, we write a 2-page reaction paper on it, what we learned, and then obviously what did we take from it. So I think, that's useful. And then a question for them, because I know a lot of them were speaking about getting involved, and then even on this questionnaire it says, what would you recommend to get involved in, being a Hispanic yourselves?
I can say the tutoring center helps so much, because I was failing stats. I took it twice. The first time, the professor used to take a picture of the textbook, read the picture, and that was his lecture. So I was lost the whole semester. I was obviously failing, and I went up to him and I was like, what can I do? Is there any extra credit? How can you help me? What's your grade? Oh, it's like around a D or an F. I say you should just drop it. So that, I was so mad. I was like, aren't you a professor? Aren't you supposed to be helping me trying to succeed? So what I did, I got to a point where I dropped it and then I took it again, but I went to the Academic Skills Center and I had a tutor who actually, I would only look for her. Cause the professor teaches it in a way, but then when you hear it on a one-on-one basis, it's so different and it helps so much more. So start off by going to tutoring for any class you need help, and they help so much more. And then, are you talking about events also?
I'm more so on clubs. I feel like I don't need tutoring.
Okay.
As clubs or involvement or help promote the campus and get more students involved. Because I'm taking a lot from it. It's great to hear y'all stories and stuff like that. Because I'm from Texas, so it's completely different from y'all being, California natives or. So it's great.
Yeah, again, clubs are big. We also have the speech and debate team, and it's really about networking. Once you get to know a lot of students, and you'll learn to realize who's really involved, who really knows what they're doing, because that's where you're gonna get the insight of where everything's going on. If you're really just kind of reserved to yourself and you go to your one club meeting and you really just go home and only associate with them, you're not really gonna hear about other opportunities. For myself, I don't give 100% to every single club because I already have a lot of classes and work. But what I do is I'll go to a club meeting when I can, or I'll go to a club event when I can from different clubs, and just kind of meet the people there, introduce myself, and then I hear about a bunch of other things that are going on for other clubs and other events. And it's really about the more people you know, the more you're gonna hear. So just kind of by putting yourself out there, I know it's more difficult for the students who don't naturally do that, but just by talking to people and they'll start seeing that you got to set the example to others, and then just by putting yourself in the loop is where you're going to find everything out.
Those are good life skills.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. The skills you get from being in clubs, from delegating to communicating to being a leader, those are all, networking especially, and teamwork, that you all get that from being in clubs and just communicating with other people.
On the calendar now on the website, you can actually email if you want to your navigators or your peers, and you can put it on your calendar on your phone. So it'll give you a reminder of when it's coming up. So when you wake up in the morning, or they do, it's on there and it'll remind you, just so that you don't forget about something that you already like. So check out the calendar right now. It's new, and it has a lot of features to remind people of it. Hopefully on our Facebook pages, we're gonna have more events, so it gives you that reminder. This is coming up, you haven't RSVP, you haven't signed up. So we're still working on a bunch of events stuff for social media, but it's coming up, just to let you know.
Yeah, I've actually been trying to navigate them since it's came up, and I always still, when my students go in, they're how to get into clubs, I still try to navigate in there and figure it out myself. But the reminder thing would definitely be good, especially if we know events way ahead of time, put that on calendar, because by the time even we find out and we let students know, it's only a week in advance, and that might not be a sufficient amount of time. I got midterms coming up, or I worked that day, I didn't have enough time to plan for that event. So just knowing way ahead of time is actually might be.
The notification is on right now for the calendar on the website, so try it out.
Okay, great.
Real quick, I just wanted to thank you, and also kind of share that I feel like your testimony, just even telling me some of the personal experiences that you really exemplified the Si Se Puede, and I'm really, really thank you. It's motivating to hear your story, so appreciate it.
Thank you. Awesome. Any last comments from you guys before we wrap up?
Thank you for taking your time to come.
Thank you, appreciate it. It is kind of on a personal level to express our experiences, and we appreciate that you guys are very welcoming and took the time to actually listen to us.